Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everyone. Today we are going to take a look at Mercury Retrograde backing its way into the Grand Water Trine once more. And we're going to take an especially close look at the role that Jupiter is playing right now. Jupiter has a ton of power in the dignities of the sky at the moment. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that, show you just how pronounced and loud Jupiter is and what we might take away from that given the Grand Water Trine configuration coming back with Mercury retrograde and Scorpio leading the way. I think this will be helpful because it's a configuration that's unfolding slowly over the next couple of days and then being reactivated once more by Mercury toward the early part of December. It's going to be reactivated by Venus and Scorpio once more. So a really good time to refresh on what we might be seeing, and especially the, I think, very loud and benefic role that Jupiter is playing, which could slip under the radar if we weren't paying close attention. So anyway, that will be our goal for the day. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe, share your comments and reflections. If you listen regularly and you're not yet subscribed, please take a second to do so. It helps us grow so much and we really appreciate it. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. As you know, we are in the midst of Kickstarter season, which means between now and New Year's Eve, we are trying to get to 2,043 backers donating to support this channel and all of the free content that we produce year round. Now at this point with weekend bonus content 7 days a week. If you love this channel, if this channel brings something special into your life, please consider supporting us. I'm going to take you over to the Kickstarter page. You can find the link in the comments section of this post on YouTube or the description of the video. When you head over to the Kickstarter page, just click back this project. Any dollar amount helps get to that 2,043 backers, which is just one better than we did last year. You scroll down, you can learn all about the Kickstarter and all of the good things it supports, from our need-based tuition to our staff, to our free speaker series, to free events we host here in Minneapolis, to free meditation Sundays, all sorts of things that are made possible because of the people who enjoy this channel pitching in once a year. So as you scroll down, you'll find all the rewards that we offer. And I want to say, if you're interested in learning more about all of the individual rewards, especially our class passes, which are the best sale of the year on any and all of our classes, you can bundle them together and take a lot of the programs in the Nightlight School at greatly discounted rates. Definitely the best sale of the year to take advantage of. So you can learn all about that at the end of today's video. Now, every day I have been saying, so I like to say something about why I feel that the Kickstarter campaign is, worth supporting. Well, we're talking about a Grand Water Trine, which brings connectivity, flow, intuition, emotional coherence. We've been talking about this for a few months. And Jupiter is so importantly configured right now. And so in a really similar way, this Kickstarter is something that opens channels throughout the year. I was thinking about how perfect a time it is to be trying to gather the resources and support of our community for this channel. It feels very much like the reflection of the Grand Water Trine. Your support allows for the flow of everything we do. It becomes the medium that provides for the blessings that support many, many people who take this course at very, very low rates because they can't afford to study otherwise. So once a year, when you support Nightlight, you are letting the nourishment of astrological education circulate in the community. I thought that was kind of neat as I was thinking about it, prepping my notes for a talk today on the Grand Water Trine. So that's why I think, it's worth supporting and pitching in. So anyway, you can learn more about it at the end of today's content. All right, here's the real-time clock. Let's get into it. Now, what I've done here today is I have actually eliminated all of the outer planets and pared this down to just the traditional 7 so that I can show you the dignities arranged in the sky right now and really make a point, really make the point of Jupiter being so pronounced. So this will just kind of aid in that evaluation. Of course, I'm not unaware of the outer planets. Of course, they're important, but just for the sake of this demonstration, I think it's going to help. So let's start off with this idea that Jupiter is very loud right now. There's a reason that I titled this talk about Jupiter raining down blessings, because I can't think of a configuration that's more Jupiterian than a Grand Trine, first of all. And then within the Grand Trine, so many of the planets are in the dignities of Jupiter. And Jupiter is itself very well dignified at the moment. So let me just show you what I mean before we go further. And I'm going to give you a list of things to watch for. But first, we need to understand how I'm getting to this conclusion that Jupiter has a lot to provide us with right now. And Jupiter being a planet of blessings and abundance, I think a significant amount of us may feel that support or recognize it in some area of our lives, depending on, of course, of so many other things that might be going on in your birth chart. If you're in the midst of a very intense transit, and Jupiter's not configured so loudly in your chart, then maybe not. But, I think, again, for a lot of us, we will notice the blessings and support of Jupiter. So let me explain why. First of all, one thing to notice is that Jupiter is a significant part of the Grand Water Trine. It's one of 3 parts. So there's the big arrow. It's one of 3 parts of the Grand Water Trine, and it is exalted in its sign of its own exaltation in Cancer. And it is also in its own bound in Cancer. That means it's occupying at the 24th degree a portion of the sign of Cancer in those degrees that also belong to Jupiter. So all of that grants Jupiter in Cancer a lot of power. That's one way of putting it. Or as a benefic, the ability to bestow all of its best qualities. But this is actually augmented by several other things. Let me show you what I mean. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. And so the aspect connecting 4 planets in the sky, the traditional planets, not including Neptune, Venus, and Mercury in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces, whole sign configuration to the North Node in Pisces, and then Jupiter in Cancer are all trines. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter, which means that the major configuration in the sky right now also resembles the nature of Jupiter. So do you see how that continues the trend? Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, the North Node, also in the sign of Pisces. This is the feminine domicile of Jupiter. And so you have Saturn and the North Node hosted by an exalted Jupiter in its own bound, configured by a trine, which is of the nature of Jupiter, to that Jupiter. Now, if we go another step, here we are, Friday, November 21st, and we're going to find that the sun has moved into Sagittarius, the moon is in Sagittarius just after our new moon, and Mars is in Sagittarius. The sun is also, so all 3 of these planets are in the masculine sign of Jupiter. And the sun is in the domicile and the bound of Jupiter. So now we have 4 planets plus the North Node in the domicile of Jupiter, and we also have Jupiter configured in a grand trine at the moment from the sign and a sign of its exaltation and its own bound. See how it's like stacking up? There's more. Let's go now to Mercury, who is the planet that is about to trigger the Grand Water Trine. So the Grand Water Trine will be made by Mercury over the weekend as Mercury activates the Grand Water Trine. Now, the Grand Water Trine's first moment is the trine that Mercury makes through its retrograde to Saturn. Now, that trine comes in between today and tomorrow, Friday, November 21st to Saturday, November 22nd. As that trine comes through, it backs into the 24th degree of Scorpio, where it will meet the exact degree-based trine to Jupiter. And as it does so, it backs into the bound of Jupiter. So even though Mercury is in the domicile of Mars in Scorpio, Mars in turn, its host, is hosted by Jupiter. So the dignity trail keeps leading us back to Jupiter, but then Mercury's moving into the bound of Jupiter. Venus, who will make the next Grand Water Trine, we'll be talking about that later next week, is also moving into the bound of Jupiter. So even the peripheral presence of Venus starting to enter the Grand Water Trine, the other benefic, is in the bound of Jupiter. Let's add that up. Let's reiterate all of that. We have Saturn in the North Node in the bound of Jupiter, configured by a Jupiterian trine to Jupiter. We have Mercury and Venus moving into the bound of Jupiter, configured by a trine, which is of the nature of Jupiter, to Jupiter. We have the sun, the moon, and Mars as of Friday when we're listening to this, all in the sign of Jupiter, with the sun in the bound of Jupiter. And Jupiter itself is in its own bound and exalted. So Jupiter is loud right now. And because Jupiter is very well dignified, that's why I don't think it's an exaggeration at all to say that there are some really, that this is a really fortunate moment in the sky. Now, Jupiter is retrograde. That means that some of what Jupiter is bringing could be slightly delayed or drawn out, or it could be that Jupiter is bringing good fortune, but through reversals. So think, for example, about the recent Mercury retrograde starting point in Sagittarius. When Mercury went retrograde in Sagittarius, hosted by Jupiter, I noticed that quite a few people experienced setbacks, delays, the kind of typical Mercury breakdowns. However, those breakdowns often were in some unexpected way beneficial. Let me give you a quick example. My wife had to teach a class. She was really exhausted and drained. She didn't really want to teach it because she was feeling just like so tired. She got to the place where she was going to teach, and in the building she was going to teach, the power had completely gone out and it was not easily or quickly being restored. So they had to cancel the class. That was on the day Mercury turned retrograde, an unexpected turn of good fortune. Although on another level, it was sort of unfortunate, like the power going out in the building and canceling the class is like, oh, but for her, it was unexpectedly lucky because she needed a break. That's a great example. Another example for me involved sort of unexpectedly and beneficially reconfiguring my car insurance, for example, to get a better rate. And, anyway, the point is that when a Mercury retrograde is ruled by Jupiter, it's not totally dissimilar from a Jupiter retrograde itself when Jupiter is very well dignified, which is just to say that the blessings that we may be experiencing through this configuration, which I'm going to talk more about next, could come through things that on one level look like a breakdown, a delay, an unexpected turn of circumstance that on one level is inconvenient or might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but at the exact same time, this is a very well dignified Jupiter, and whatever delays, breakdowns could have this kind of really beneficial silver lining. So that would be the worst, but otherwise, set aside the retrograde of Jupiter, it's in great condition to just offer some really profound forms of support right now. So I have a list of 5 things to watch for, and these things are keeping in mind everything that we've said about the power of Jupiter. They also, of course, consider the fact that the quickest moving planet is Mercury in Scorpio, triggering this Grand Water Trine. So that trigger planet, the fast moving planet, will often have a way of becoming the channel or medium for the greater configuration to speak. So in this case, Mercury sort of lights or leads the way. But again, given the power of Jupiter and the expansiveness of the water in the sky with Jupiter, this list is coming from that space. All right, so here we go. Number 1, watch for flow, life, fertility, and nourishment. When we think about the natural way that babies seek out the mother's breast, I remember when my first daughter was born, especially, this is the first time I had ever seen this in my life, right? It's like, here's a little child that's just come into the world, and as soon as she was placed on Ashley's chest, she started searching for her breast and for milk. It was so natural. It was like, oh my God, we're for me, it was like, we're animals. Oh my God, it was such an embodied moment. But life metaphorically provides us with the instinct and the natural flow and direction to find sources of nourishment. Sometimes we lose our way, but isn't it funny how you look back at so many different stages of your life, and when you needed help or support, you had a way of finding it, or it had a way of finding you. The cosmic breast or mother finds us, and we find it. We have some natural honing beacon. Is that homing beacon? It brings us there anyway. So what I'm thinking about right now is the flow of life, the flow of fertility, the flow of nourishment, the way that creative energies have a way of congregating and flowing together. And when something is in a state of need, Jupiter in Cancer is such a great provider. It really is like the great mother archetype. So we're at the breast of the cosmos right now in a way. And I think if I'm not exaggerating when I say I think many of us may feel I am so supported, even if it's in a small way. Take a moment to make that small moment of support a great moment of appreciation, and watch that will have a way of magnifying and opening more blessings and more gratitude. And where there's more gratitude, there's more flow, there's more life. So watch for small moments that can create big openings if you have big appreciation for any support you're receiving right now. I think some of these transits, they give in accordance with our ability to receive. So receive whatever support is there right now and watch it continue to open and expand. Number 2, watch for blessings in the whole sign house of Cancer. So we've done some horoscopes on this already, focused on that whole sign house of Cancer in a number of different talks that I've done. But the point here is look at that whole sign house of Cancer in your chart and think about it as a place that is providing you with something that you need on a soul level. If you take that perspective, sometimes even things that are difficult can be understood as something that you still need nonetheless. I had for me, some of the transits of this fall when Jupiter was going over my sun were surprisingly difficult for a Jupiter sun transit. I'm not saying it was all bad or anything. There was a mix of things that came as Jupiter conjoined my sun, and it's sort of stationing right now on my sun as I'm making this anyway. But I was like, gosh, if this isn't what I needed though, and that's how Jupiter in Cancer can feel. If you just take a moment, it can be like a wise mother. In hindsight, most of us look back at our moms, especially many of you out there who have actually become moms yourself and then reflect on your own mom and so forth. You become a better mom because you see all of the things that your mom gave that were good and you emulate those. We all do this as parents. And then you pick up on the things that maybe were lacking. But it's usually in hindsight that we can appreciate what was given and how much support we've had in life. But right now, this is an opportunity, to see and appreciate the specific kinds of blessings that are coming through the whole sign house topics of Cancer in your birth chart. So take a little time there, spend a little time thinking about that and see what you come up with. I know for me, there's a whole story with my car in the third house that is where Cancer is in my chart that's like really pretty amazing. And I'll tell it at some point. I feel like a bad thing happened, but I was saved from a much worse thing because a bad thing happened. I was under the Mercury retrograde ruled by that Jupiter. But mostly Jupiter in my third house, for example, has been about the writing and editing of my book that's now finished. The book is finished and I'm just finishing edits before it goes to editing is a big process, but the process of publishing, editing, writing has been a really well-supported place in my chart right now. So taking some time to say thank you for that. Yeah, because otherwise, you know what? We become entitled. And it's easy to become entitled because we think, well, I did this. So anything good, like I earned, and anything bad is undeserved, But if we take a moment when things are going really well to say thank you, I don't know that I necessarily deserved this. I have no idea if I did or I didn't. So I'm just going to say thank you anyway. What could go wrong if you have that attitude? Anyhow, all things verbal, mental, emotional, and communicative are being supported. So remember that Mercury is triggering this. Mercury in a water sign tends to bring up the connection between verbal, mental, emotional qualities. So verbal, emotional connection, intimacy, depth, bonding in relationships, emotional health, emotional intelligence, being able to communicate or articulate what's inside of us and feeling like there is support for what's inside of us. These are some of the best things that Mercury can contribute to the Grand Water Trine, considering how loud and supportive Jupiter is at the moment. Number 4, therapeutic support or community social resources are available right now. Grand water trines and trines in general tend to bring up issues of community support. So Jupiter is associated, the 11th house is called the joy of Jupiter. That's a place of allies and communities and benefactors. And so whether it's therapeutic, emotional, mental support right now, we're finding the right doctors, we're finding the right healers, we're finding just support through synchronicities that give us some emotional healing that's much needed, or some form of emotional nourishment that's needed. Whatever the case might be, I think it would not be surprising to see either therapeutic, healing, nourishing forms of support for mental and emotional issues, or community and social resources available to us right now that feel connected and that grant greater emotional depth and support. So when I think of the people that are most supportive in my life on this level, on a kind of water trine level, I think, for example, of like my colleague Ari Moshe Wolf comes to my mind. He is a good, like, spiritual ally. We have totally different schools of astrology, but he is such a deep, thoughtful person who is, really trying in his life, as I feel that I am, to walk my talk. Not that anyone's perfect, but I feel so deeply supported and nourished by that professional relationship. That would be a grand water trine kind of relationship, as opposed to, say, other forms of support, like, at a business, you have a really good accountant or a really good CPA or a really good business or financial advisor. What a nice form of support it is to have people who counsel and advise and give advice or strategize. But those might be very earthy, for example, or very airy. They help organizationally or technologically, or they help in terms of practical plans. Water trine help is the kind that provides support primarily through the feelings that it contributes: good feelings, supportive feelings, nourishing feelings. So feelings are a form of support and a need that we have to collaborate with others that we share emotional resonance with. These are very important and really pronounced right now. A lot of very positive support that can come through the grand water trine with respect to these kinds of things. Okay, last but not least, with so much water in the sky right now, anything that has a lot of history, memory, and ancestry behind it can become more prominent or important. I feel like history, memory, ancestry are often present within us in ways that are less visible or conscious. For example, the way I move about the world as an astrologer is, and just the way I speak and carry myself and convey things has a pretty deep connection to my upbringing here in, like, small town Midwest Minnesota. A lot of people will feel that, or they'll notice it, but it's subtle. It's not super pronounced all of the time. It kind of rises to the surface here or there, and the reflections of my past and my roots and so forth will kind of show themselves. You guys probably notice it on the channel, and it's the same for all of you. Wherever you came from, whatever your past looks like on a soul level, on an ancestral level, it's there as this living part of you that's not kind of silent and in the background. It's almost like the negative space between the stars, the darkness that connects them almost invisibly. So we all have constellations of karma in our lives that have these dark spaces in between. You call that dark space unconscious, but we can also call it soul history, soul memory, ancestry, the past, etc. And what I find so interesting about grand water trines is that there's so much water in the sky, and water tends to be connected to these kinds of spaces, that suddenly those spaces become more prominent or visible for once. I think, for example, that right now, whatever's happening, your ancestors could be here to support you, or the past and some clearer understand. understanding of where you've been and where you've come from could make its way to the forefront, which often provides us with some opportunities for emotional healing or catharsis. So watch for what the water brings up to the surface, maybe from the past, from soul history. And consider right now that what is coming up on that level is here to support you. It's here to bring blessings. It's here to bring abundance and flow, grace and healing. So these are some of the things that I am seeing activated at the moment by Mercury and Scorpio. Anything deep, probing, invisible, secretive would also be important for Mercury and Scorpio in general. But marry this to a very benefic Jupiter, and it's kind of like, look, your research is going to pay off. Dig and you're going to find treasure. So keep that in mind as well. Some deep probing right now, some deeper, more honest, emotional probing or researching, delving into things that are deeper, more like murkier, more complex emotional territory could be very rewarding. So I will leave it there. After I sign off, remember, we are trying to get to 2,043 backers by the end of the year. Find the link to the Kickstarter campaign in the comments of this section. We could really use your support in the first week of the Kickstarter. It means everything. The Kickstarter does well if the first week does really well. That typically is how it goes. So get us off to a quick start this week. Become one of the backers that supports our channel. Help us break our record from last year and grow the support of this community. Help us create that flow that provides so many people with blessings out there who maybe otherwise can't afford anything to donate, or otherwise couldn't afford to take our classes or what have you. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm going to tell you about the different rewards that are available when you donate and support this year's Kickstarter. Remember, our goal is to get to 2,043 backers by New Year's Eve, and your contribution makes a huge difference. But when you do contribute, there are a variety of really cool gifts that we offer only once a year through the Kickstarter campaign. So I'm going to take you over to the Kickstarter and tell you about what those are. You can also find more information about almost all of the rewards on our website, nightlightastrology.com. Any of the programs that you might want to take, all of the details about those programs, their start dates are all located on the website in case that's a question. But at the top, you'll notice on the right-hand side, when you're scrolling down on the Kickstarter, you're going to see the different rewards that are available at different pledge levels. The basic pledge level is the Astrology of 2026 calendar. This is a really nice PDF calendar that we make that gives you a feel for what transits I'm going to be covering on the channel as the year goes on. It's also really nice to know what the transits of the year are day by day. So if that appeals to you, it's the most basic level of pledge, and you can get that. Scrolling down, you can also bundle any of these. So if you want multiple rewards, you can bundle them upon checkout. You'll see how that works when you're in there pledging. Scroll down a little bit. There's a new talk that I've made. This is a brief talk on the value of silence and having a silent or meditative practice in your life, how you might get one started. And again, just what I see as the value of that for astrologers. Scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the Astrology of 2026 audio and video. This is an exclusive lecture where I break down all of the major transits and astrological signatures for the year ahead. I'm not releasing this anywhere else, so if you want my insights for the entirety of 2026, this is a great reward to pick up. Scroll down a little bit more and you'll see that I have a guided meditation that I've created for your year ahead. This is more about spiritually, psychologically, emotionally focusing yourself for the year ahead. It's a special kind of guided meditation and visualization that I've created. So if that sounds appealing, you could pick that up. It's called The Oracle Within, a guided meditation. Scroll down a little bit more and you'll see that my new book, which I plan on starting at the latest by the summer of 2026, you can get in on that chapter by chapter first draft release in audio and text form, just like The Oracle Speaks, my first book that I just finished. This is a new book that I'm starting in 2026. So if you wanted to hop in on the early release for that, you could do that there. Scroll down a little bit more and the description of that book and what it's all about is right there for you to check out. Year ahead horoscope readings. If you want to receive about 6 hours worth of content going through horoscopes for 2026 for all 12 rising signs, this is a great offering that's going to give you, again, about 6 hours worth of horoscopes for all 12 signs for the year ahead. I'm not releasing anywhere else, so check that out. Then you'll notice as you scroll down a variety of different archived master classes from previous years. There's one on the lunar nodes in ancient astrology. That's about 10 hours worth of content. The magic and mystery of the fixed stars, again, about 10 hours of content. Zen and the art of zodiacal releasing, and the alchemy of the outer planets. These are all lengthy master classes that I taught in previous years, about 10 hours of content per package. So a really great deal on some advanced content there. If you are brand spanking new to astrology, check out Astrology for Complete Beginners. This is a course that we have. It's about 10 to 12 hours worth of content that's meant for people who are brand new to astrology. This is like astrology level 0. So, but if that's you or someone you know who might benefit from just like a basic introduction to astrology, check out that audio video course. You get a website where it takes you through everything. You can watch it at your own pace and time. It's all recorded. The next offering is Ask 3 Horary Questions. You purchase this one and you get the ability to write to me anytime throughout 2026, 3 separate occasions to ask 3 separate horary questions, and I respond to those via email. That's a really great service that saves you significantly off the course of horaries because you're bundling 3 together. So a really nice gift to use for yourself. Ask a couple of questions to me through horary form throughout the year. Scroll down and you'll see that I have only 30 of these. These are year ahead mini readings, very exclusive because I don't give readings anymore. I have students and staff taking clients through a special reading service. So my readings are very limited to classroom spaces, but I have 30 of these exclusive mini readings where I give you my take on your biggest transit for the year ahead in your birth chart. Those are personally recorded and sent to you. Then you'll see the 2025 Masterclass bundle, the 2024, and the 2023. These are, like upwards of 30 hours of content that are going to give you really deep exploration of a variety of topics. So those masterclass bundles are taking multiple series from previous years and bundling them together in one package. And you can see all the topics listed there through the 2025 bundle, the 2024 bundle, or the 2023 bundle. A really great way to package together a lot of intermediate to advanced level content that I've taught in the past. Then if you go down, the new 2026 masterclass series that I'm teaching is on the decans. So if you're interested in learning more about the decans and the upcoming 2026 masterclass, check this out. It's on sale right now through the Kickstarter. Won't be this cheap again. So a really good way to save on joining that program in 2026. If you have any questions about that program, you can find more information on the website through the page that's dedicated to the masterclass. Scroll down and you'll see we also have a new Nightlight Guild membership. This is ideal for people who are already enrolled in Nightlight or in the kind of Nightlight pipeline as students and are looking for more practice, more study at an intermediate to advanced level. We're meeting twice a month and doing live client readings, live horary workshops, a lot of practice with advanced concepts and techniques. So this is ideal for people who are really looking to continue developing within the Nightlight sphere. And so students in Nightlight, check this out, come study with us. This also includes every monthly webinar that I teach on the year, plus twice monthly meetings that are 2 hours each for advanced practice. So really nice to have a guild membership. This is something I've been wanting to develop for a while. Check that out. Scroll down, you'll see both of my wife's herbal apprenticeships, year 1 and year 2. If you like Ashley and her work, her YouTube channel, we own the same LLC. So we just thought we'd throw in her herbal apprenticeships at a discounted rate if you want to join those. And then really our most popular item are the class passes. So you'll see at the very bottom, you can attend 1 Nightlight course, 2 in a bundle, 3 in a bundle, or 4 in a bundle. And what that allows you to do at a really significantly discounted rate, this is our best sale of the year. We only do it through the Kickstarter. In those class passes, you can bundle and take year 1, year 2, year 3 in Hellenistic natal astrology. You can take the horary class, or you can take any yearly master class. And those class passes are going to allow you to then bundle together our programs and go through as many as you want. You could bundle 2 of them together, 3 or 4, or just 1. And it's going to be the best sale that we have on our courses for the year. So those are the different rewards we offer. If you have any questions about any of them, feel free to email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We deeply appreciate your support. And I hope that in exchange for donating and supporting this free content year round, that you will also find a valuable reward in one of these offerings. Remember that your donation supports a staff of people, myself, my family, the free production of all of this content year round. We deeply, deeply appreciate your contribution. All right. Hope you're having a great day. See you later. Bye.